Artist research suggestions for architecture. Researching artists for inspiration is really important in order to develop your own ideas. When selecting artists to look at, choose those who inspire you, who give you ideas. Choose artists that you really like. I've put together some examples of different architectural themed artists. We'll go through each one and then you can look further into any who jump out at you and give you ideas instantly. Always do some internet surfing to find your own artists too. Starting with Ian Murphy. Ian Murphy is best known for his powerful tonal drawings and atmospheric mixed media oil paintings of architectural places. A great choice of artist for those who wish to explore tone, texture and scale with a focus on realism. Stephen Wiltshire is very well known for his large-scale city panoramas, primarily using pencil to sketch and pen to add line work. Wiltshire is an ideal research choice for those looking to concentrate on scale and detail of busy compositions. Jim Butler. Jim Butler takes his inspiration from the urban environment and draws with ink and collage directly on location. His interests range from architecture, streetscapes, and the people who bring cities to life, to shop signs, vernacular typography, and road markings. Alongside drawing and collage, he works across a range of printmaking techniques. If printing is something you're interested in, Jim Butler is a brilliant choice to look at. Saso Petroszewski. Inspired by the Croatian landscape, Petroszewski creates ambient, merged townscapes using bold colour and expressive black line. Perspective is interesting in these pieces. You can see how he combines different studies to create compositions. Colin Binns. Colin Binns' works are montages on paper using combinations of ink, watercolour, gouache, pastel and collage. Binns' style was very similar to that of Petroszewski's in the way he layers black, expressive lines over brightly coloured backgrounds. David Morris. David Morris is a good choice for any learners wishing to explore watercolour painting. The subject matter of Morris's work includes architecture, boats, the coastline of Norfolk and Yorkshire, New York, France, and he had a particular love for Venice. If you're interested in watercolour painting, David Morris is a brilliant choice. Another watercolour artist is Maya Ronska. In much of her work, she uses harmonious colours to recreate cityscapes. In her architectural pieces, she uses line and tone beautifully. Chris Tate. Chris Tate is an incredible example of how to explore the subject of architecture in a more illustrative way. Tate uses bright, harmonious and atmospheric colour with incredibly detailed scenic drawings layered over the top. There is something very childlike about Tate's work and it feels as though it belongs in a children's storybook. If you're a learner interested in the illustration route, Tate is a great artist to look at. Sunga Park. Sunga Park is a graphic designer and illustrator. Park creates really interesting architectural compositions using watercolours. She says she purposely avoids using realistic colours and tends to use colours which just work well together. The way the watercolour is applied to the paper or canvas looks as though it's slowly emerging or slowly disappearing from view, almost magical. In contrast to the subtle watercolour application, she adds realistic and careful details. Valery Koshlyakov. Koshlyakov is a really interesting example of both those things. Valery Koshlyakov large-scale cardboard paintings, collages and installations are sometimes hung from the ceiling and sometimes just taped directly on gallery walls. The rough cardboard bases are covered in paint drips depicting blown up postcard images of classical and monumental European architecture. They look wet, expressive and urgent. An excellent artist to look into if you're interested in more abstract architecture and textures. Okay, so I'm going to give you some advice on how best to approach your research. Firstly, you need to write a short bio about your artist. So for example, you can write a paragraph explaining your artist's home life, include his or her date of birth, when he or she died, if they've died, what art movement he or she are perhaps linked to, and maybe where he or she studied art. You might want to list any awards that they got or anything like that, but keep this short. This is not the most important piece of writing which will be read. You need to include artist analysis, and this is really important because this is you explaining where you've got your ideas from, why you're inspired by this artist and what their artwork is all about. So you could include answers to the following questions. What has the artist created? So it might not necessarily just be a painting. Is it a drawing? Is it a sculpture? Is it an installation? How has the artwork been created? So what materials have been used? Have they used watercolour? Have they used acrylic paint, oil paint? Have they used a printmaking method? What is the subject matter? So for example, are they buildings in general? Is it architecture in a certain place or type or era? Look into what their subject matter is, and you could even include opinions from the artist themselves. What is the work about? So what is their artwork about? What message are they trying to convey? What kind of emotion do they want to evoke? And then which of the below formal elements has the artist considered? Use this sheet to help you, but think about things like tone, shape, line, pattern, texture, composition. What have they considered in their artwork? What makes them stand out from everybody else? And then lastly, for your writing, include a personal response. So what do you find interesting about the artist's work? Why? How could you develop your ideas in response to your artist's work? Think about why you initially liked the artist that you looked at. What did you like most about the work? What did you find most interesting? And then lastly, make sure you include at least 3 images of the artist's work. Of course, it is only at least, so if you wanted to add more, then please do feel free. And then more importantly, a transcription, so your own piece of work in response to that artist. It could be a direct copy, or it could be in that style. And then use all of this information to present your work on a double page in your sketchbook. It might be that you look at more than one artist, in which case you can put them all on one page, or you can work over 2 pages. That is completely your decision. It might even be that you want to look at several different artists just to get lots of different ideas which you can then later merge. But take a little look at some artists yourself, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.